Today I'm making a blend from tobaccos that I got from my friend that grew them in a greenhouse. Some of it is Shirazi, and so I'm calling it Turkish honey. It's a 200-gram batch. I chopped it up about this fine. Most of it's actually, I think there's 55 grams of Shirazi in here, and the rest Virginias of various kinds. So I made up a test batch, 1 gram of this and 2 grams of that, and tried it out and wasn't happy with it at all. It was good, except that it left kind of a lingering taste in the mouth afterwards that I didn't care for. So I went back and tasted each component of the blend and found out that it was a Nicotiana rustica that I'd added that I didn't like. Now, for those of you that don't know what that is, please subscribe to my channel and watch the video from a year ago called Ancient Native American Tobacco, which really clearly illustrates the species that we know and love today, Nicotiana tabacum, which is tobacco as we know it, but that 1,000 years ago, all across North America, was the yellow flowering variety Nicotiana rustica. Strong nicotine and strong flavored, but I grew some this year and really liked the flavor of it. Plus, I could use a little more nicotine in my relatively low nicotine blends. So I cased it. As you can see in one of my previous videos, I did a casing on it, hoping that it would kind of mellow it out, but it turned out I actually liked it better in the raw. So I did not put it in the blend. That's what was kind of adding that flavor I didn't like, as well as some of the stove tobacco from last year that I was all jazzed about last year. And no, that was adding a little bit of that mouth characteristic to it too. So I deleted those from the blend and added 40 grams of my #1 4-hour Cavendish from this year to mellow it out. And that turned out really nice. So what I'm going to do here is I mixed up some topping blend. And it's a little shy of a 1/4 cup of honey, my darker honey from this year. I'm a beekeeper. I just chose the darker honey for fun. And a 1/4 cup of honey, a little bit shy of that, a 1/4 cup of my own vanilla, and a tablespoon of licorice. Well, I better talk about the licorice. Last year, 2 years ago, I soaked licorice in alcohol for 6 months and it didn't extract at all. So I went online and I checked it out, and I finally found out the original 1905 patent, American patent from 1905 for licorice extract. And that was 190 degrees Fahrenheit in alcohol under pressure. Well, that's about what, 85 degrees Celsius. So I thought about it, and I did it. So what I did was I took the jar of alcohol and licorice, and I put it in a crock pot filled with water, and I brought the crock pot up carefully to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, the water, of course, wasn't boiling, but the alcohol was inside the jar. It was a little bit scary. I don't know if I'd recommend that, but it worked. So I brought it up to 190 degrees and then turned the crock pot off, put the lid on, and walked away for 4 hours or so until it cooled off. And that, I achieved a reasonable licorice extract that way. So that's what's in here. So I'm going to put this on this tobacco and mix it in by hand, which I like to do. Okay, I'm just going to mix it in, and right now it doesn't feel like it's very much, but it'll soak up. I want it to kind of get all over all the leaves, so I'm going to mix it into it, and then I will let this dry probably until tomorrow. I'll check it out when it gets down to about 60% relative humidity with a hygrometer, and then the press. All right, it's the next day. Here's a sample in here, 54% relative humidity. That's good. What isn't good? Well, I'd say above 70% relative humidity. I mean, the old cigar maxim of 70-70, like 70% relative humidity, 70 degrees for storing cigars might be a good one to go with, just because I think they know what they're talking about. How low? So in other words, I wouldn't want this above 70% relative humidity. 54, that's good. How low? I don't know. But I'm a little bit hesitant at 70 degrees because that's just perhaps a little, 70% humidity, because that's just perhaps a little bit too much, too high relative for me. All the way down to 40 or something, I don't know. So let's load the press up. You've seen me do this before, but we're going to do it again just for fun. Let's save a little bit out. I got a buddy coming today that, yeah, we try this out. Okay. Let's try something different here. I've got an idea. I'm going to secure the ends. Yeah, this is took me too long to figure this out. It's so simple. Right? Put these right about here. Okay, let's put these on. Okay, let's move this again, like that. That should work for a while. So I'll leave this on here for 2 days, and we'll remove it from the press in 2 days. All right, it's 2 days later. Let's check this out, shall we? I continued to tighten it for the last 2 days. Let's see if this comes out of here easily. So here's a cake. Where's a knife? Let's cut some of this up. Pretty hard. So the press, the press is supposed to function as a amalgamation of the oils. It forces the oils out of the leaves and of one kind in the blend and forces it into the others. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a test. I'm going to do a taste test. Here's some nice flake. But I'm going to do a taste test of the pressed version versus the unpressed version. You can see there, that's still in its... And we will test this. Let's fill it up. Cut it right here. There we go. Not quite enough. It's okay. There's some more in here anyway. I'll put the data sheet in there, what it is. We've got Turkish honey. And then we have Turkish honey in here to try. Successful tasting. First of all, this is a tobacco this is the first example of tobacco from this year where it was color cured 2 months ago, cased a month ago, and assembled now. So these are tobaccos that are in their infancy, really. It's like wine barrel tasting right out of the barrel when it's not even in a bottle yet. That said, we're talking about a tobacco that had 10 grams of stoved Virginia from the previous year, 40 grams of Cavendish from this year, and 150 grams of both Virginia and Oriental from my friend's greenhouse. So what I found was that the flavor is very fresh, tobacco-y, like you can really taste the tobacco. And that could be an indication of, a result anyway, of the honey or the casing light techniques that I used. As you could observe from the other videos, I use short duration, low temperature casing techniques for these tobaccos. And so they really taste like tobacco, more like a raw tobacco. There's a bit of tongue bite, a little flavor in the mouth. It's not too obnoxious, but in general, it was pleasant. A light smoke. The difference between the cased and between the pressed and the unpressed version was the unpressed version, I could taste the differences. It's like a combination of leaves, where the pressed cake was one taste. Well, a friend of mine that came over yesterday said, he asked the question, well, the honey, how can you taste the honey? Well, I wonder how much honey one would have to put on it for you to be smoking honey. It couldn't be very pleasant. Like, is it harsh? That'd be a good experiment to do, where I took a batch of tobacco and topped it with sugar, and another topping with maple syrup, and another topping with honey, to see how they're different. Sugar is a very neutral sweetener, and it's used in almost all the tobaccos that you buy that are ordinary tobaccos. Also, the amount of vanilla that I put in was more than I'd ever put in before, but it smells more like an ordinary tobacco, the amount of vanilla. In fact, some of the tobaccos, like that Lane 1Q that I mentioned in another video, that's way more vanilla in it, and it doesn't seem like natural vanilla to me. It seemed like imitation vanilla. But overall, the tobacco was successful, this Turkish honey, and so, and I'll give some to my friend. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and please check out my fiction books that I wrote. I'm going to throw up a couple ads after this. And thanks for watching.